this way. Good, and as soon as you can, sort of settle into being completely flat with your legs extended out long. Let your body have whatever shakes and wiggles and all of that stuff it needs, because we're going into training, right? So assess where you are here as we start, and we'll begin with as big of a breath in as you can, filling completely, and as big of a breath out as you can, emptying completely. We've been here before, and remembering that we want that movement to happen from the diaphragm, in and down, as much air in, and then smoothly transitioning to as much air out as you can. And here in this case, we'll do our best to take out the pause after inhale. And you can inhale and exhale through your nose, or if it feels better, it is available to exhale out of your mouth. So breath in, out. It's somewhat vigorous, so it's not a controlled, quote unquote, yoga breath where you're doing ujjayi and sort of valving or controlling the breath in. It's air in, air out, kind of wild-like. Keep going. Don't stop. Good. Take a deep inhale and hold the breath in for as long as feels comfortably possible, and listen to my directions. Then once you've reached your maximum, exhale to about 1/4 of empty or nearly empty, and then suspend the breath out after exhale for as long as you can. And after that suspension is over, inhale again and begin that vigorous inhale and exhale. Move that diaphragm. Say hello to your breath. Bring it in. Press it out. Or as Mr. Hoff says, breathe it in, let it go. Don't stop, keep going. We're doing these each time for about 30 breaths. Good, big inhale in, hold it in. Hold it in for as long as you can, and then exhale mostly out, and then suspend breath out. Good. And then as you're ready, inhale in one more time. Keep going, about 5 or 10 more. Good, and as you take your next big inhale, fill all the way up and reach your arms up overhead, and reach and see if you can fill some more. And reach through the heels of your feet, also flexing the feet, and inhale some more if possible. And as you exhale, exhale through the mouth and push your mid back into the ground, containing at the low ribs. Your hands may lift up off the ground. That's okay. See if you can soften them back towards the ground without losing this bracing action of the abdomen. And then inhale in, fill the torso up with breath, and then exhale, relax the body completely. And just notice if the rib cage wants to lift again. Let your arms soften so the elbows bend and your elbow, shoulder, and wrist can all be on the floor. Good, so the more you bend at the elbow, the more it'll allow for a softening at the shoulder to have all those joints down. Good. And just fill with breath as though you were breathing from the solar plexus. So the solar plexus is that place where you activated on your exhale through the mouth to contain the low ribs and press the mid back into the floor. On your next breath in, fill the torso, and on your exhale through the nose, take that same containment at the ribs. Move from the upper abdomen to press the low ribs into the floor. Okay. I'm going to give you just a little adjustment here, okay? Mm-hmm. Big inhale in and exhale out. Good, so really feel that tuck there and feel how that lifts your head. See if you can soften your head. Good, so feel that tension in the back. That's what we can correct with some soft tissue work, but that's the position of the rib cage. Good. Okay, keep breathing in as though you're breathing in from the solar plexus, and then we'll continue to add to this action of bracing. So brace at the abdomen on your next exhale and activate through the soles of the feet as though you were in standing, so that you're reaching again through the heels and your toes are pointing towards the ceiling. Your legs are lengthening in two directions, your front hip bones are lifted, and your glutes are on. So there's a tone now to the low abdomen and the upper abdomen, keeping this containment in place. And then now you may have noticed that you have to sort of negotiate with your shoulder mobility to keep the bracing action at the abdomen in place. So do that as necessary to keep the brace, and then reach the arms up overhead at whatever level you can have them without losing your brace. Good. And then take a deep inhale and exhale and feel this level of bracing, and then start to lighten the load of your head and your heels and your hands on the ground while continuing to press the mid back into the ground and keep the glutes on. So you're reaching and slightly lifting. Good. Okay, so this is a bracing action on your back. I'm going to have you do something that will help you feel your deep south core even more. Keep all this bracing in place, and with only your head, roll from your back to your side. So you'll lift up with control. If you need a demo, look towards me. And only your head will roll you to balance on your side. And there'll be some wobbling and weebling here as you do it, but you'll find a stable place. And then use the softening from your head to bring you back onto your back as slowly and controlled as possible. Once you get there, relax completely. Just do one side, and do one side as slow as you could. So take all the bracing actions now. Lift the head so there's no legs involved. Your head is what rolls you. Everything else is staying contained, especially through the low ribs. So you can feel now where you let go, especially on the way back. So control your way back. Don't let the hips release. Don't let the bracing action of the core release. Good, and then rest completely. Bend your elbows again to that position that we found so you could keep the bracing action in place and feel your solar plexus, okay? So that's the spot where that is like, wow, well, it's burning there, kind of. That is the place where your power comes from. And so containing all of that power through this bracing action is what will start to bring lightness to your posture. Okay, now the other side. All head. The more head and held brace you have, the more when you come back to your back, you'll feel this center of the solar plexus, and take some deep breaths into that after you've relaxed. Control, control, control onto your back. Good. You'll feel where your body wants to let go or break, and then you'll have more info. Be sure to take the rest in between to fill the solar plexus with breath. And soften on the exhale. And then we'll try now, whichever side was harder, doing again. So whichever side you felt like you had more of a break on, do that side again, roll to your side and hold there. No legs, all core, all head leading the way. You gotta want it with the head. Good, embrace and hold on your side. Oh, and now we'll be controlling onto your belly. So some of you may have to adjust for that. Now you're controlling from your side onto your belly. So feel the back body resist to make that as slow as possible. And we were gonna lose a bottle or two. Come back to your center of your mat. Just sort of take an old-fashioned scoochie. Good, now arms stay overhead, tops of the feet ground down, forehead grounds down. Good. Take the bracing action here that we just learned on your back. So feel the core stay contained through the front relationship of the front hip bones and the low ribs. Good. Now press the inner leg line together and the tops of the feet down into the ground. So the tops of the feet ground down, the pubic bone grounds down, the low ribs stay grounded down, and the head stays grounded down. So you're actively pressing down with the head and down with the mid-torso, down with the pubic bone, down with the feet. Feel all that bracing action, and then lift your arms up off the ground without lifting your solar plexus off the ground. Good, so everything else stays down, and only the arms lift up. Wow. Good, now breathe into that solar plexus while you're bracing. So breath moves up and down. If you're familiar with Ujjayi, this is where you might apply it. So a slight constriction to valve the breath as you breathe in and down into the braced abdomen. And then on your next exhale, slide your right leg out to the right in a creeping position and turn your head to the right and let your elbows come out to the side. Relax completely. Good. Oh, okay, so bracing on your front and bracing on your back. Build some heat. Okay, now breathe into that heat and let it circulate throughout your body. Breathe in and down. Fill the low belly first, and then the side ribs, and then the upper back and shoulders, and then smooth transition to exhale. The body gets heavy, heavy, heavy. So this is where we work really hard and then we rest really wisely when we have a few moments so that we learn how. Good, and now we'll do a round of that big breath in, big breath out, really focusing on breathing into the space behind the heart. So inhale as though you were directing breath into the space behind the heart, then the side ribs, and then to the belly. And then it reverses. Belly relaxes, side ribs, then upper back. Good. Continue in this way for 4 or 5 more breath rounds. Noticing any tension in the body, directing your senses inward to see through feeling how you are doing. Use your senses to ground yourself in presence. Feel your whole body heavy and where your body's touching the floor. Connect to your sense of hearing to hear my voice and pass my voice. Soften the shoulders. Relax behind your heart to receive the next breath in and filling that space and then moving down. And as you exhale, get heavier. Really good. Okay. Bring your leg back behind you and your arms overhead. And keep your tops of your feet grounded, and walk your elbows back so your elbows are directly under your shoulders and your forearms are like fence posts straight up and down it. Or sorry, your upper arms are, and your forearms stay in contact with the ground and the palm stays in contact with the ground. So you're lifted up like a sphinx, they call it. And then you're zipped up also through the lower body. So this position here is going to lift the chest, and likely you may have some sensation at your sacrum or in the mid-back. So this is a place where we can, on your exhale, take the core containment that we've been learning at the low ribs. Good. Keep that core containment in place. Hold the whole upper body really stable and still. On an inhale, bring the right leg up, look towards the foot. On an exhale, take the foot back. And on an inhale, other side, look towards the foot, bring that knee up as high as you can. Opposite foot grounds, and the idea is to keep the forearms parallel to one another, not letting the elbows creep out and the hands creep together. And then the lower body is moving as the upper body staying contained and not letting the force of this movement go down to the sacrum, but keeping the core contained. Once you have the flow, think about how light your leg could be at the ankle and the foot and the knee. So it's still in contact, rolling across the floor, but it's like smooth, like silky smooth. And you're lifting from deep in the hip to try to lighten that effort. And you're pressing through the hands to keep the core contained at your center. Good, and the more you really look, you'll get your neck into it and bring the knee up as high as you can. Oh. Okay, next time your right leg is out to the right, keep that there. We'll ground down through the top of the opposite foot and the left hand, and keeping the brace in place, reach with the opposite arm up. Press through the knee and the top of the foot and lift the hips up like you were really reaching, and then come back down. Place the hand back down, switch sides. Once you get the knee in place, reach, keep the knee down, lift. If it feels like that's easy enough, you can press into the top of the foot and lift even more. Some things to really watch for, that you're not dropping out through the shoulders and letting your shoulders dump through the movement, but that you're continuing to press the floor away. And as you lift and reach, you keep the core contained, and then see if you can lift up onto the top of the foot and control yourself as much as possible when you come down. Okay, keep flowing side to side. If at any point you feel like that effort is too much, like you're not able to stay with it, or that your core breaks, go back to the previous step. So that means knee comes down, or that means maybe you just even rotate and don't lift. But as you're reaching, your head is looking towards where you're reaching, and you're pressing the floor away from you like you really want it, and you're getting broad across the shoulders. Good. If you're feeling the force of this pressure on your sacrum, it's a sign your core is not contained, that you're breaking at the abdomen. So don't lift as high. Focus on the front body staying contained. So this type of flow takes us back to a developmental stage where this capacity developed and forces your body to revisit it, or else you'll feel the compensation and how the effort's moving into your low back and straining your low back. Okay, come down into Sphinx, and then arms come back overhead, and then soften into a creeping pose if you'd like. One leg can come out to the side, head comes down, maybe left leg out, turn to the left, opposite of the last time. Good, and now bring breath into the space of the upper back and shoulders. Expand and broaden your upper back with your inhale, and then breath moves down into the side ribs and then the low belly. And soften the shoulders, soften the back. Move them with only how much you're filling your lungs. So we're taking those breathwork practices we've done, and now we're expanding our capacity with each breath in our resting pose. Good. The next time you take a big breath in and fill, inhale, hold. Hold it for as long as feels comfortably possible. And then as you exhale, exhale completely and suspend the breath out. Hold the breath suspended out for as long as feels possible, and then return to a smooth, steady breath that fills in the upper back and shoulders, and then moves down. Each breath, let the shoulders and the hands get heavier. If you notice that you're holding any effort to hold your head, hold your arms, adjust your position so that you can receive your inhale in the space behind your heart, and it moves down. I invite you here to release ujjayi completely. If you still have any audible breath, let that go, and maybe even make an action in the mouth like you're yawning. And then you may even really yawn after that. And that will open up inside of the back of the throat and the head. And then let the breath be soft and silent. Good, really good. Keep this breath pattern of high to low going, and this steady, smooth pace. And on an inhale, take your leg back behind you and your arms up overhead, and bring your forehead to face down again. And then little by little, walk your shoulders back until that you're in that Sphinx position again, elbows right under shoulders. Forearms parallel to one another, palms grounded. Good, and really actively in this position, press through your hands and your elbows and broaden across your upper back. And then breathe into that space of the upper back. And we'll be moving towards a different little flow from this same position. So tops of the feet ground, core containment comes in place as I start lifting up and sending my hips back to puppy. So we're not moving the elbows and we're not moving the knees. We're trying to get into the mid back, keeping it contained and the elbows in place in puppy, and then lowering with control back to Sphinx. Okay, now you go. So this is an opportunity to feel that core engagement, hold it in place, and then really open up through the underarms and the upper back, the places that often restrict the breath. Let the head be heavy towards the ground, and keep sending your butt back and grounding your palms more to lengthen the whole posterior of the back. You may notice your elbows wanting to creep out. That's just a sign of tight shoulders. As best you can, keep them in and just pause at the place where it feels like they want to move out, rather than allowing them to move out to get the forehead to the ground. Remember to keep grounding through the tops of the feet. Good, and then next time that you are back in puppy and then coming back and forward into Sphinx, pause there in Sphinx, and then ground through the tops of the feet and the knees and lift up to a modified plank. So contain at the torso and lift up and just hold this containment here. So tops of the feet are grounded down, back is really broad. All the braces that we've learned so far are in place. And now pull your knees to your elbows and your elbows to your knees, just like in the club. Pull them towards each other. And breathe into the brace. Good, come bring your hips back, walk the knees forward as you do, and place the hands where the elbows were. Good, let the torso drop and the shoulders drop, and circle the shoulders a few times. And now press the floor away and stabilize through the shoulders, ground through the tops of the feet, and really move only through the mid-torso. So we'll barrel around with the torso, keeping the tops of the feet in place and the hands in place, and see how much movement can you have through that area that we're really focused on here. Great. And now as you're exhaling, so your torso's dropped, as you're exhaling all the way and coming up, see if you can lift the abdomen in and up as you move across, and then drop it as you come back down towards center. So this is applying Uddiyana Bandha, a deep Uddiyana Bandha, or a lift in and up at the belly as you're exhaling and lifting over. So it's starting to move and release any tension in the diaphragm. So if you're not sure what I mean, look towards me. So I'm here, released, not holding the containment, dropping on an exhale this direction to the right. Really lifting in and up as you exhale, trying to feel the low belly get movement. And then continue, switch directions. All right, really good. Walk the hands out a hand length or so, and then we'll bring the torso forward and take a forward and down onto the belly. Now we'll start with that flow that you guys already know. So you'll bring the arms both overhead, walk the hands back into Sphinx. On an inhale, right leg comes out, look towards the right leg. And back, and then other side. Left leg comes up, look towards it. Good, and then back to the right side. This time contained through the core, lift, reach, and lift through the top of the hand, maybe even through the top of the foot, and then control back down. Switch sides, left leg comes out. Then you reach and look, and lift. And come back down. Good. Once you come back to center here, ground through the tops of both feet and knees and flow up and back to puppy and back through plank, and then lower with control. Right leg comes out, look towards it. Left leg out, look towards it. Now same thing on the other side with the lift and the reach. Good, so your right leg stays down, David. Yeah, good. And then back down, switch sides. Good, press the floor away with your other hand. Keep the core contained, good, so strong. Come down. Good, now the left leg comes back. Ground through the tops of both feet, come up and back through plank, and into puppy, and hold in puppy. Take a deep inhale and exhale, and another inhale. And on this exhale, apply Uddiyana Bandha. Lift in and up. Hold. Good, and inhale. And then come to plank. And then lower to Sphinx. Good, then right leg comes out. Look towards it. Back. Left leg comes out. Look towards it. Stay solid through the shoulders. No movement in the upper body as you're doing this. No collapse. Everything stays through the shoulders and back. Then other side and reach and lift. And down. And as we continue, find your pace and your flow. Now that your body has the movements there, now deeply feel each movement. And it doesn't matter if you miss a part of the flow or it's not exactly perfect. What matters is that you keep flowing. So if you don't remember the next right movement, just go back to the last one you just did. The important thing is that you just keep flowing. You can hold at any posture that you want to get more stabilization work in. So say you want to hold through in plank for a breath or two in bracing before you rest for a breath or two in puppy. Really good. So we've taken about 30 minutes to develop this flow, but now that you know this flow, you could just do 5 or 10 minutes of the flow before moving into your breath work. You could do 2 or 3 flows, rest, do some breath work in between. Good. The next time that you find yourself in puppy, let your hands release and drop all the way back into child's pose. Yep, so lift the hips up and then just hips to heels all the way back behind you. So the arms are overhead, hips are towards the heels. Just like that. Mm-hmm. Good, take a few big deep breaths into the backside of your heart. And you can cross your ankles or just drop your hips back to come to a seated position. So from here, pressing back and coming to seated. If seated on your sit bones with your legs crossed isn't comfortable, you could also be in Vajrasana or hero's pose with your tops of your ankles and your shins down and your butt on your heels, whichever feels comfortable. We'll do a round of Bhastrika breathing now. So that is a forceful inhale and a forceful exhale, and we'll start out with it being a little long, and then we'll shorten it. The important thing is that there's a movement in on the exhale and out on the inhale. So you may have to get that synced up a little bit. So we can start right in on it together. I'll start at a pretty slow pace and then pick up my pace over the course of the repetition. Find the pace that's right for you. If I go further than it feels like you can keep up or you start to feel a little anxiety, just back down and go a little bit slower, okay? We'll do this for about a minute. Deep inhale and exhale to prepare. And then begin with a forceful inhale and an exhale that presses back. On your next inhale, fill and hold. Hold as long as you can, empty, and then hold empty as long as you can. Focus at the midbrain. Take a steady pace of breath, recover, notice the effects of the practice. Notice how your breath flows naturally when you're recovering. We'll now move into another version of a practice. As goes with this whole series, if this is going to happen for you in a good way, you need to be established in all of the practices before. So if Bhastrika felt difficult and you didn't quite have it, stay there for a little while. We'll be adding Ujjayi to our Bhastrika, making it a practice called Prachardana, which is sort of directing the breath up towards the soft palate and the area of the pineal gland. So I'll give an example. If it doesn't click with you, just go back to Bhastrika. So forceful inhale, forceful exhale, then I apply constriction up the glottis to direct the breath upward. So I'll give an example, maybe watch first before doing. So I'll have my hand here, and you can do it this way for yourself too. As I begin to do Ujjayi, the flow of air is literally less out of my nostrils because it's being directed upward. So Bhastrika with no Ujjayi. You can see the difference in my nostrils and how they move even. Okay, just play around with it, give it a try and see what you come up with, okay? So we'll start with Bhastrika. Add Ujjayi. Remember, mouth position, tongue flat and broad on the roof of the mouth, teeth slightly parted, lips touching, directing upward. Good. Continue till it starts to feel like you're getting short of breath in any way or you're lightheaded in any way. Then take your deep inhale, hold the inhale and your attention at the midbrain, and then again exhale and suspend the breath out after exhale. So find your capacity. That's an important aspect of pranayama, is learning how much is too much. When you're holding the breath, hold your brace. And as you exhale, maintain your attention at the midbrain and take a breath that's filling up the upper back and shoulders and then moving down into the abdomen, just as we did in our asana. I invite you to bring the palms to face upward and soften the upper back. So after we've become established in our body and our breath, and the mind is stilled to hold a single point of focus, we'll direct our attention towards the midbrain. from the midbrain, take your gathered attention and follow it down on your exhale from the midbrain to the tip of the nostrils. And on the inhale, feel the breath as it touches the tip of the nostrils and moves back up to the midbrain. So breath and attention united, flowing up and down the upper channel of the nostrils to the tip of the nostrils on the exhale, and on the inhale up, the roof of the nostrils back to the midbrain. As though you were now becoming established in this area. The eyes, whether open or closed, are held still. If you notice heat in the body, see if you can just slightly move the arms away to release the underarms to allow heat to move outward, while staying established in the midbrain and the flow of the breath to the tip of the nostrils and back. And it's into this focused and established area that's full of our attention that we place our mantra. On your next inhale, on the exhale, settle your attention at the midbrain. And on the inhale, we'll invite the sound or the mantra of the breath herself. As you inhale, hearing internally, so, and as you exhale, hearing hum. So breath and attention and this sound resonating at the midbrain. I welcome you, if you have another preferred mantra, to offer it to this space of the midbrain. We'll remain here and practice together for only 1 minute. And I'll invite you to continue your practice on beyond that, but only after you're established in a 1 minute meditation that is able to stay grounded and steady in the breath. So just like other patterns, we don't add strength to compensation patterns. So if the mind is restless and wandering, observe that and attend to need. But if you are stable and steady in posture, established in your breath as it's unified with your attention, you can stay here for as long as you can, continuing to lengthen your meditation to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes of being here at this space with your mantra. If you don't have a mantra, I'm offering you So Hum. I am that. This concludes your guided practice.